Dear students, in this video we will start to solve many history questions of chapter 7 section 1. First question, Mendel obtained the second filial F2 generation in his experiment by what? So directly make the experiment of Mendel. We said we have P generation, we have F1 generation, and we have F2 generation. We said for P by self-pollination, but for F1 we get it by cross-pollination. What about F2? Again by self-pollination. So he used self-pollination 2 times and only cross-pollination to get F1. Now the question asks about the F2 generation. How he get F2 generation? It's by self-pollination. Self-pollination of what? Of F1 generation. Can we say of parents? Yes, they are the parents for F2. And these parents, are they with same trait or different trait? We said they are all purple heel in F1 generation. So we say they are same trait. So first we will focus on the self-pollination. We omit these two cross-pollination. Is it by self-pollination between two parents that have two contrasting traits? No, it's between parents that have the same trait, because we know that F1 generation, all of them appear purple, for example. So they are of the same trait. Now question 2. We have tall stem pea plant, then we have short stem pea plant. You should find the relation here. Here we focus on the first one should be dominant, because you know that tall is dominant and the short is recessive. So you should find the choice that have dominant trait, then recessive trait. Yellow pod in pea plant, it's recessive, and the green pod is dominant. So it's the opposite of what the question asked about it, so we will omit it. B, purple flower pea plant, yes, this is dominant. White flower pea plant, this is recessive. So this is the correct answer for us. Okay, what about constricted pod pea plant? This is recessive, and inflated is dominant, so this is also incorrect. Green seed pea plant, the green in the seed is recessive, and this is dominant, so we know now that the correct answer is B. Now the third question, we have Mendel. When Mendel wanted to cross a plant that was true breeding, you know what is true breeding? It's pure. We mean it's homo. Okay. For the trait of yellow pod, and you know that yellow pod, and we have for the pod color, we have green and we have yellow. Which one is dominant is the green, and we have G capital because it's homo, and the yellow one will be G small. Okay, so when Mendel wanted to cross a plant that was true breeding for the trait of yellow pod with one that was true breeding for the trait of green pod, to prevent self-pollination, what he did in order to prevent self-pollination, he removed what? He removed the anthers, as we said before, the anthers of both plant, or the anthers of the one of them, the anther of one of the flowers, which is the anther of the green pod plant, the dominant one. Okay, so this is the correct answer for it. Now, for the fourth question, Mendel concluded that the paired factors of each character separate during what? We know that the paired factor, for example, T capital T small, they separate during what? This is the law of Mendel, first law of Mendel. They separate during the formation of gamete. Yes, so it's C. Okay. Now, question 5. Pea plants normally reproduce through what? We know that pea plant normally reproduce through self-pollination. As we said before, Mendel used cross-pollination. How he did it manually? By removing the anthers. But normally the pea plant reproduce by what? By self-pollination. So these are self-pollination. And Mendel was able to prevent this kind of pollination by removing what? Removing all of the anthers, the male part. Okay. An example of a characteristic is the pod appearance. We know that what is the difference between character and trait. Character is the genetically determined, the trait is the genetically determined variance, as we said before, of the character. And character is the heritable feature. Character is when we talk in general. For example, we say flower color, pot color, but trait are the different variants or the alternative form of the character. For example, when we say pot appearance, this is character. A trait like what? When we say trait, for example, Seed texture, this is a character. We talk in general, we said seed texture. I don't mention what is this seed structure. Is it round or wrinkled? But when I say inflated pod or constricted, this is the traits. These are the traits for the pod. Okay, so now which one is trait? It's inflated and constricted, so both B and C. In the three steps of Mendel's experiments on the pea plants, the dominant trait appeared in the. He asked about dominant. We know that we have this speed generation, F1 and F2. In F1, the dominant appear by 100% because all of them will be purple flower, as you can see here. But in F2 generation, the dominant appear by 75%. As you can see here in F2, usually the dominant appear by 75%. So at that time we say in first generation it's appear in ratio of 100%. This is correct. And in second generation appear in 75%. So also this is correct. And the correct answer will be D. An individual with the genotype can produce only two different gametes according to the law of independent assortment. Law of independent assortment is used when we have two characters. As you can see in all these choices, we have two characters. We have two different letters, right? Now, which one can produce two different gametes? We said before, if the genotype of the parent is homo like that, all the gametes will be G capital, H capital. What about here? It's also homo, so all the gametes will be G small, H small. What about if you have heterohomo? Yes, this one will produce two different type of gamete as the question asked about it. Why? Because we have the gamete will be G capital H capital and also we have G small H capital. So this one will be correct answer. What about this one? This one will produce four different type of gamete. Why four different type of gamete? Because whenever you have the genotype of the parent, it's hetero, so it can produce four different type of gamete. Like for example, G capital, G small, H capital, H small. So how we can solve it? We have G capital, H capital. This is the first gamete. Then G capital, H small. Then we have G small, H capital, and G small, H small. Okay. So which one will produce two different type of gamete? It's when you have this one, hetero and homo. Now refer to the adjacent figure which explains the three steps of Mendel's experiment. Which one of the following is correct? We will solve the figure first. Here we have Mendel used purple flower. He didn't know if it's P capital P small or P capital P capital. What he did self-pollination for several generations. Self-pollination for several generations. Why? To obtain only the pure, which is P capital P capital, the homozygous. Okay, and this you know that it's P small, P small. What about here? All of them will be P small, P small. So here we have self-pollination. Also here it's self-pollination. What about to obtain F1? To get F1, he did cross-pollination. Cross-pollination of the parents that they are true breeding. And what we mean true breeding, they are pure. What about F1 generation? We know if you cross P capital with P small, here all of these purple will be P capital, P small. So they are hetero. Now, what about Z? Again, to get F2, he did self-pollination because we said SCS, self. Then he did cross, he did self again to obtain F1. Now he did self-pollination for the F1 generation to get the F2. In the F2, what he saw that one of them will be white and the other three will be purple. Maybe one of them will be P capital, and these two may be P capital, P small. Okay, because he get three of them are purple, and these purple, one of them will be P capital, and two of them will be P capital, P small. Now let's go to answer the question. W and X should be self-pollination. So first we will omit these two. Okay, so self. These are correct. Okay, now have the same gamete, the same genotype. Which one have the same genotype? Are they individuals 3 and 4? Let's see them. Number 3, it's P capital P small. What about 4? It's P capital P small. Yes, this is correct. Individuals 1 and 4. What about 1 and 4? 1, it's, as we said before, it's what? It's P capital, because it's pure, it's true breeding, it's homo. And what about number 4? Number 4, as we said, it's P capital, P small, it's hetero. So these are not with the same genotype. What about Y and Z? Y, it's cross-pollination. Yes, this is correct. And this is also correct. What about Z? It's for self-pollination. So the correct choice will be B. The law of what state that factors separate independently of one another. Independently, it means they separate, they are not related to each other, they are not connected, and they separate randomly from each other. And which law of Mendel, is it the law of segregation or law of independent assortment, state that the factors separate independently of one another? It's the law of independent assortment, the second law of Mendel. Pollination occurs when pollen grains produced in where? The pollen grains are produced in the male part and they transfer to the female part. So they are produced where? They produce in male part, okay, male reproductive part, which is called what? Is the male reproductive part called stigma or called anther? It's called anther. So it's produced in the male part, which is called anther, and transfer toward what? To the stigma, which is the female part. Now, in Mendel's experiment on pea plant, one of the pea trait failed to appear. Which one will be failed to appear in F1 generation? It's recessive trait. In every case, this trait, it's reappear in F2. When it's reappear again in F2, is it appear by a ratio of 100%, 25, 50, or 75? It's 25 because here we talk about recessive. And you know that recessive, if you look to the figure before, the recessive trait, it's disappear here and it's reappear again in F2, but in a ratio of what? From 100 we have, yani from, it's mean from four offspring, for example, we have only one of them will be recessive, so in a ratio of 25%. What about the dominant? The dominant, we said it's appear in F1 100%, it's dominant, and 75% in F2 it's dominant. So returning back to our question, it's 25%. The adjacent diagram shows a diploid cell. Based on the independent assortment, which of the following represent the possible gamete produced by this organism? Independent assortment, it's the second law of Mendel. It means we have two characters, and this is correct. We have two characters. We have two different letters, the S and the T. And based on independent assortment, we said that these, when they separate independently or randomly, which means that this S capital may be separate with T small or maybe with T capital. And the same thing for the S small, maybe with T capital or maybe with T small, because they separate randomly, independent of one another. They are not connected to each other. Each one is on different chromosome. So when they separate randomly. So at that time, the correct choice will be this. Mendel's named a trait which is a disappear in F1. As we said, that one that disappear in F1, it's what? It's the recessive trait. This is the more easiest question. The 7 characteristics of the pea plant in which Mendel made genetic experiment. Each character based on Mendel has how many traits? Has 2 traits. Are they similar or contrasting trait? They are contrasting trait. Like for example, purple and white flower, green and seed, for example, green and yellow for the seed. F2 generation, F1 generation. So here the relation like that. This is P, F1 and F2. From F2 to F1. This is the relation. So you should find the same relationship. So we get F2 from F1. Would we get FP generation from F1 generation? No, this is incorrect. We get F1 from F2? No, we get F2 from F1. This is also incorrect. We get F1 from P generation. Yes, this is correct, the same pathway. So this is the correct answer. Now, is the study of the structure and function of chromosome of the gene. We said the science that study the structure and function, is it heredity or molecular genetic? It's molecular genetic. Okay. Now, question 18. Mendel used cross-pollination to get what? Cross-pollination, it's only to get F1, okay? Because we said that this is P, F1, F2, okay? This is self, this is self. Only here it's cross. So only for F1 We get them by what? By the cross-pollination. So he used cross-pollination to get F1. In his experiments with garden pea, Mendel hypothesized that each trait was inherited by what? Each trait, as we said before, is inherited by one factor. One factor is enough to inherit the trait. According to this figure, which shows homologous chromosome, yes, these are homologous chromosome because we have the same letters, so same gene. Okay. According to this figure, shows homologous chromosome, which of the following is correct? Number 1 represents a gene. Number 1, is this represent a gene? No, this is one letter. One letter represent an allele or factor. Both of them together represent gene. So this is incorrect. Okay. Number 1 and 2 represents a gene. Yes, this is correct because number 1 and 2, both of them together, A capital A small, they represent a gene. For example, let's say gene responsible for, just for, and we can say axial, we have and terminal. Okay. For flower position, we have axial and terminal, for example. So we say we can say this gene responsible for the flower position, and because both of the letters are the same, so we say they are alleles for the same gene. So yes, this is correct. Both of them are named as gene. And number 2 represent a factor. Yes, number 2 only or number 1 only, it represents allele or factor. So this is also correct. So the correct answer will be D. Now we go to question 21. In 21, the characteristics that Mendel studied in his experiment, each character occurred in two contrasting traits. Yes, this is correct as we said before. Which character and its contrasting trait of the following is correct? We should find the character and its contrasting trait that are correct. Position of flower, we have terminal and axial. This is correct, but it's incorrect to say terminal is dominant because the axial is dominant. We have for the position of flower, we have axial and terminal. Axial is the dominant one and terminal is the recessive one. So this is incorrect. A. Okay. What about B? Pot color, we have yellow and green. This is correct. But is the yellow dominant? No. For the pot color, the color of the cover that's around the seed, the green is dominant, not the yellow. So this is also incorrect. Seed texture, we have wrinkle and round. This is correct. But the wrinkle is recessive and the round is dominant. So this is also incorrect. For the pod appearance, we have inflated and constricted. This is correct. And the inflated is dominant and constricted is recessive. So this is the correct answer. Self-pollination occurs when pollen is transferred from the anthers of flower to where? To the stigma, either we said of the flower, of that flower, or another flower, but should be on the same plant. Because if it goes to another plant, and on another flower on another plant, at that time it will be cross-pollination. So which one is correct for self? Either on the same flower or another flower on same plant. So the correct answer will be D. Mendel produced F1 generation by, we said F1 by cross-pollination. As we said before, we said F1 and F2. How we get F1? By cross-pollination. Cross-pollination of what? Of pea, of the parents. So cross-pollination, the pea plants of several generations, or cross-pollination between two parents that have the same trait? No, actually the parents here, they are with contrasting trait. Why? Because we have purple and we have white. So they are with contrasting trait. So cross-pollination between two parents that have contrasting trait. Paired factor. Okay. In Mendel's experiment, this also we solve one like that. In Mendel's experiment, the first generation was produced by what? First generation, again, it's F1. How we get F1? By cross-pollination. Of what? Of the parent that have contrasting trait. So we get them by cross-pollination between parent and second generation. Between this and this? No, this is incorrect. By a cross between P generation individual? Yes. Between the P generation, cross-pollination between P generation, because it's not between the cross between offspring and P. This is also incorrect. To show how traits disappear then reappear from generation to generation, Mendel put. In Mendel's experiment, he crossed two contrasting traits, but for one character. For example, he crossed the purple with white. So when he crossed purple with white, this is for one character, and for one character, when he showed that the trait appear and disappear, for one character we have the law of segregation. Mendel discovered that the inheritance of a trait had no effect on the inheritance of another trait. So here we have two traits, and he said that the inheritance of one trait is not related to the inheritance of another trait. So this is the law of independent assortment, because we have two different traits and they are inherited, and where their inheritance is not related to each other. They are not connected to each other. The law of Mendel for studying of two pairs of different character, the second law of Mendel, which is the law of independent assortment, because we have two characters. To produce a true breeding, which is the homo or pure, Mendel performed what? We said for true breeding, like we get a P generation by true breeding, by self-pollination. The P generation, they are true breeding, they are pure or homo, and we get them how? By self-pollination. But how Mendel get the P generation, they are all pure and true breeding by self-pollination for several generations, which means for many times he did it in order to get the pure parents or P generation.